What's going on, fellas? Sean here, Hammerhead Garage. Happy Easter, everybody. Hope you're having a good Easter weekend, Easter Sunday. Not doing much today, pretty much just sitting on my butt. No chocolate Easter egg bunnies or anything in my future here, so. But anyway, time for the Sunday night Spitball. And a nice yak session about how things are going in everyone's projects and my own included. Just sipping on my tea here, fellas. Got my nice Earl Grey tea. Like to have one of them once in a while. So cheers. We'll just wait for a few folks maybe to pop in. Don't know how many folks are going to be around tonight. It is an Easter weekend, so there's a lot of folks that are traveling and out of province, out of state, so to visit family or whatnot. I'm not even sure how much of that's going to be going on because of this whole epidemic. You know, the travel restrictions here in Canada. I know every province has their own, but I'm not sure what's going on with all that. But anyway, yeah, so I hope you guys are having a good weekend. Relaxing, you know, like chilling out and not thinking about work or anything like that. Just kind of, you know, doing your thing, right? Yeah, so as you saw by my video today, I'm not overly impressed with what I found with that posi track rear end that I pulled out of the Green Bastard there. Wasn't what I was expecting, but I should be used to that by now because I've been a mechanic a long time and I've seen some crazy stuff. So, it's nothing that's unsurmountable. And thanks a lot for the handy ideas. A lot of you guys commented on what I should do, what you would do if you were in my boat, so to speak. But we got a few options, and we'll go over those options here in a minute, and just decide what I'm going to do. It's not insurmountable. I mean, the parts are available. Only problem with a junkyard rear end here is that there's not a lot of 31 spline traction lock rear ends around. There's all kinds of open differentials around, tons of those. But anytime the junkyard or guys like me see those posi traction track lock type rear ends, see, track lock is just Ford's version of GM's posi track. Essentially is all it is. I mean, it's the same principle, how it works. You know, one wheeled, both wheels lock up for positive traction, you know, not the one wheel peel, but the two wheel peel. And then when you're going around a corner, it allows some slippage so that your tire isn't going like chirp, 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 or going at the same speed. Both wheels are, one wheel slipping and allowing more power to go to the other one. That's all. I've never had a vehicle with a welded rear end in it. From what I've read, it causes quite an amount of extra tire wear. I don't think it's generally unsafe, provided the person that did the welding knew what they were doing. But there's one thing though that I don't like is the fact that you probably got to put quite a bit of heat into those pinion gears or spider gears. And generally, when you put heat into those things, it changes their composition. They lose their heat treatment. Will Sanders in the house. What's going on, Mr. Admiral Sandwich? I missed you last week, buddy. Yeah, so that's not cool. You don't want to ever put yourself in a situation where you take heat treatment out of parts. That's why they always told us in mechanic school never to heat brake parts or try not to heat suspension pieces, depending, of course, on what they are. If you got a shock that won't come off or something, you got to heat the nut up. Well, you got to do what you got to do, right? Especially if you're going to be replacing with new stuff or upgraded stuff. But anyway, yeah, so I popped the cover off that thing, and then I looked in, and she has got the old, what we call up here, the Lincoln locker, right? Someone took a welder and welded her up. You know, I mean, if it was a truck that I only drove like very occasionally, and I probably wouldn't care. But in the summertime, like right up until the first snowfall, I'm driving this thing daily. Like every day I get in this truck. I I did have the truck out for a drive that day here. I think it was last Wednesday. There's like 4 days ago. It was 20 degrees here. I had it out for a little chooch up the back roads. Worked real good, boys. Real good. It broke the tires loose in third gear. I think I hit like a little bit patch of sand or something. Just for a second, I feathered it and then get back on it. And when I looked down at the speedometer, I was going over 115. So it was like 118 or something like that. So I got out of it. That's enough. Those back roads, you never know who's coming the other way. So you got to be very careful. But that and the fact that there's a lot of dirty sand and salt and all kinds of debris is still on the roads. You just don't know, right? So better safe than sorry. But in any case, she's still working great. She's running like a top. Never got over 170 degrees the whole time. Just it was taking every bit of fuel I'd want to give it. And it got to the point where I had to get out of it. So if I stayed in it, like I'm sure that thing's capable of 140, 135, 140. I know it'll do it. That's a scary, sketchy. That's the truck's name. So it's going to live up to its name at those speeds. But in any case, so what are you guys up to? What's happening with you, Will? Did you notice, buddy, that I was a minute early tonight? Yeah. I happened to get going a little bit earlier than I normally do. Nothing much. Right on. Were you working this weekend or were you off? But in any case, yeah, so I had a suggestion that I should just basically throw oil in this thing, put a cover on it, and send it. And just not worry about the welded rear end. I don't know. I don't really want to do this twice, so I don't think I'm going to do that. There he is, Mopar Nut 62, my brother. What's going on, man? Yeah, happy Easter to you too, buddy. Just talking about my situation with my rear end there and the old Exploder. What my options are going to be here. But anyway, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix it the right way. Well, to me, what the right way is, I guess there's probably lots of ways to do this, to skin a cat. But let me just share my screen here. I'll show you some of the bits that I found on the interwebules here. I found this puppy on Fleabay, I believe it is. Let's just see. I gotta add it to the stream. Here we go. Let me blow it up here. Yeah, there we go. Full stream, full screen layout. Can you guys see that? Yeah, so this guy right here. Let me just read you what it says. It is a new OEM rear axle differential 8.8 31 spline case. It says for 07 to 14 Mustang, but any 8.8 31 spline Ford axle it'll work on. There's the part number. It's got the spring in there for the clutches. They want $337.85 plus $202 shipping. That will get it to my door. So that's what is that? $540 essentially. Then we got this option, which is, let me just hang on a sec here. Okay, so we'll go back to my ugly mug. Let's see if we can share this one. This screen sharing is kind of cool. I like it anyway. Once you figure out how to do it, that is. Okay, share screen, Chrome. Okay, here's the one from Amazon. As much as I hate giving them any business, because I really don't think the richest man in probably the universe needs any more money. Can you guys see that? This is the Ford 8.8 traction lock for 31 spline axles, compatible with solid and independent rear suspension, accepts the anti-lock exciter ring, 4 ounces of friction modifier for the initial fill. Yeah, that's with all of them. And this one I can get for $413.60, or I can buy that plus the friction modifier plus the C-clips for $444. And of course, there's shipping and all that other doodads on top of that. And I want to put a cover on it. I think I'll put a stud girdle type cover on it. But anyway, those are my options. If I can zoom in here just to show you guys. I don't know if hopefully that's showing up. This is brand new. Then it'll take whatever ring gear you want to put on it. I think I lucked out with the ring and pinion gear. Yeah, fast delivery, not too bad. Usually about a week. Let's just see what it says here for that. I'll just pretend that I'm going to buy it. Ships from Canada. Let's just see what it says about that. And it's got one review. Probably about 2 weeks, but see, everything is behind right now because everybody and their dog is getting stuff shipped to them because of, well, COVID probably. But I heard that the Suez Canal, that ship that was blocking the lanes there, had something to do with parts being delivered too. So who knows, right? But anyway, I'm not in a big, super huge rush for it because there's other work I can do while I'm waiting for that. I got a leak in an axle seal, as you guys probably seen on the video, that on the driver's side. When I pull the axle out, I'll have a real good look at it. From my experience, 9 times out of 10, when that happens, it's not the fact that the seal failed. It's the fact that the axle is worn. I had a leaking axle in my old F100. I put 5 seals in it, and it would leak every time after I put the seals in. So then I finally got non-lazy, and I pulled the axle out and I mic'd it, and it was severely worn. So I went to Rock Auto. I got another axle and a new seal, put it back in, and put it back together, and bingo, Bob was your uncle. It didn't leak a drop after that. Let's see what, yeah, there's Canadian Marauder. What's going on, man? I'm going to show you what. And there's Dr. Art's Hot Rod Rehab in the house. What's up, buddy? Mopar Not 62 said, one review, not too many people have the balls to fix a rear end. I don't know why they don't. It's not an overly complex situation there with the rear end. You just have to know how to set the backlash and get the right tooth pattern. It's not overly hard. I do the same thing hundreds of times a year with ATV rear ends, and it's no different in a larger rear end. We got Dr. Art in the house. What's up, buddy? Not too much. Happy Easter, man. Hope you had a good Easter or having a good Easter. And then we got my buddy out in Saskatchewan, Canadian Marauder. How you doing, man? Hope you're having a good Easter too. This man here says he's got the parts that would fix it. My diff right now. Problem is it would cost more than my car by the time it got here. Yeah, it's not hard at all. No, it's not really overly difficult. I don't know why people get freaked out over the rear end. It's just another mechanical situation. You know, it's like no different than working on the fuel system or brake system or spent Easter in the new hot tub. Right on. That must have been cool. I bet you that'd be all right. It's freezing rain all friggin' day here today. And we didn't have any snow at all until I looked out this morning, and then the ground was covered in snow. but it's mostly gone now. It's turned to ice pellets because it's 0 degrees right here, right now. So it's freezing rain at the moment. Lovely, eh? Good for driving on. But anyway, yeah, so I think you guys have convinced me that I'm not going to cut the rear end. I'm going to leave it the length that Ford intended it to be. I can't see there being a downside other than that one wheel. I might have to get an offset rim or something to have a little more width in the drive line, because the Ranger has a fairly narrow track, especially the Gen 1 trucks. They're pretty narrow. So having a little more width in the rear end is not going to hurt, especially high-speed stability is what I'm thinking, right? They think it's black magic. That's what Mopar Nut was saying. Yeah, man, I don't understand why. It's very simple. It's no different than a set of industrial gears that come together like in an industrial setting. You know, it's just you got to have a little backlash there, a little bit of movement, a little room to grow, a little room for play in the rear end, and use the proper lubricants and make sure you get no leaks, and Bob's your uncle, so to speak. Hang on here. Earth's saying 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, right on. That's pretty cool. 60 degrees where Mopar Nut is. Not bad at all. And what's my friend here? Canadian Marauder. Yeah, the crappy part about the 8.8 and the 9.75 is the inner bearing race, is the axle surface. I was just saying, a lot of times when you have an oil seal leak on those things, it's not really the seal, especially if you've replaced it a few times. That's the problem. It's the axle that's worn in that spot. Now, there used to be years ago such a thing as a ready sleeve that you could put over that. Now, you can't get them hardly anymore. But so what I did is I just ordered a new axle from Rock Auto. And, of course, with a new axle, the surfaces came up back to tolerance. And the leak went away when I put a new seal in it. But anyway, yeah, each to their own, man. I mean, I don't like any leaks, period, especially if you're kind of a nut and you like to drive fast like I do. Getting anything under the rear tires at 100 miles an hour is kind of a losing proposition. Any way you look at it, it's not a good plan. Yeah, and you know, I could probably put that welded rear end in there and drive for like 10 years and never have a problem. But there's always a chance. And I don't like the fact that it's going to scrub the rear tires off it even more than the turbos probably will, right? So I guess it really doesn't matter. But they friggin' they like to eat the outside edges of the tire because they're both turning at the same speed. With the limited slipper and open, you got different speeds, right? So it'll allow for that slippage going around corners. But when you got an axle that's welded, there's no room there. It all turns as one unit kind of deal, right? Yeah, the axle's pouring oil. I knew it was, Art, because I'd seen the puddle under it in the summer. And I'm not using those shoes. I'm going to be replacing those brake shoes. But at least somebody put some new springs, a new hardware kit in there for me. So that's kind of you got to chalk that up in the win column. Again, that's not super hard to do anyway, but it does save a few dollars. Yeah, the harmonic balancer ones, I use them all the time too. You can get them from Napa Auto up here in Canada. You can use a harmonic balancer sleeve, I think they're called ready sleeves, but there's probably a bunch of different companies that make them. And it's basically just a thin sleeve that brings it back into tolerance so you don't have the leak. Which reminds me, speaking of harmonic balancers, I was talking to my dad about that today. I'm going to ditch the stock Ford one on my motor. When I headed out for a drive the other day, I spun the engine up to 5,900 RPM and it wanted to go a lot harder. And she's been to 62 a couple times, and that's really just asking too much for a stock balancer. So I'm going to step up to an SFI style, just a Summit Racing brand type, and it'll be good. I won't have to worry about it coming apart. I don't know if any of you guys have ever experienced a flywheel explosion or Had a balancer come off of a very hard revving engine, but it's not a good thing. Bad shit happens in a hurry. So, to spend $150 on a really good balancer, or $200 is, as far as I'm concerned, that's money well spent. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, the rear end itself is actually in good shape. Like the axle tubes, it looks straight. Everything looks okay in there. The pinion and crown gear, or the ring and pinion gear, look fine. I think I'll be okay there. I'm just going to put a new center section in it and call it good. I want to put one of those covers that has the the girdle on it to hit those main caps, because the plastic cover on the factory Ford one is garbage, to be honest with you. It doesn't seal right, so I'm going to put a decent cover on it. I'll fill it up with the right oil with some friction mod in there and send it, and I won't even cut it, because my pads for my springs and shock mounts are all in the right spot. Now, the plans for this suspension are going to be traction bars on the back, 2-inch lowering shackle on the back to get the height down. I'm going to drop the front of the truck 2 inches with some drop springs, but only 2 inches. And I'm going to use Viking shocks all the way around, double adjustable. That's going to be some money, boys. I've already priced it out. It's $1,200 for shocks, but I'll never have to do another set on it. And it'll probably help me get that rear weight transfer that I was talking about, like getting the balance right. Move the battery to the back of the truck and get the weight bias correct, so we can get some more traction. Yeah, balancer for sure. I mean, that's just the way to do it. I mean, I don't have a $30,000 race engine, but it doesn't matter. If they say that the stock factory balancer is good to 5,000 RPM, well, I'm exceeding that. I may not with the turbo, but right now I'm exceeding that. So adding a little stiffness is always a good thing. Yeah, I want it stiff, but I want the rear suspension. Actually, if you guys, I don't know if you've seen on the video, I probably didn't show you, but somebody's went and pulled a leaf or 2 leaves out of those Explorer springs. So they're quite a bit softer. So I'm going to put them in like that. And I might have to clamp them on the front. 2 clamps on the front, 1 on the back. I don't know yet. But I'm going to try them as they are. I'm definitely not going to use those crap-tastic friggin' bushings that they got in there, the rubber bushings. I'm going to ditch those in favor of a polyurethane style or a little better style. Dr. It's Hot Rod. I have the battery, fuel cell, and nitrous bottle in the rear of the bed. Yeah, the more weight you can get out back of the truck, the better, especially with a truck, because weight transfer is an issue with trucks. Because you know why? Because the bed, from the cab back, there's hardly any weight. It's mostly in the front part of the truck. So if you can move weight from there to the rear, why wouldn't you? Like I was saying, Art, I'm going to ditch that stock factory fuel tank on the Ranger and move something out back so I can get all the fuel weight that back there as well, right? Now, I'm not looking for super quick quarter-mile times, but I mean, anywhere in the 12s would be fine. I mean, it'll run 12s probably now, right at the high 12s. But if I could get down to high 11s, low 12s with it, that'd be cool. That'd be your perfect little daily driver truck. A little hot rod / work truck. And that's all I'm looking to do here. I mean, I'm not going to get too crazy with it. Poly or solids all the way, yeah. Do you think solids would be a good idea on a street-driven truck? I'm just wondering. You guys would know more than I do. You're 2,900, eh? Yeah, mine's 2,660. With me in it, it's probably close to that weight. But that's still light. That's really light. I mean, I think the LX Mustang, which is their lighter package, they're right around 2,800 without the driver. So you're talking quite a difference. Any idea, Art, what kind of power that 383 you have in there puts out? Yeah, I mean, When I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and even into the early 90s, if you had a 12-second street truck, man, you had it. You were like the king of the castle. You were the king of Kensington, man. I guess that's not fast anymore, but anyone that's ever been in a 12-second ride, it's fast enough. Like, really, it is. For me, anyway. I mean, this isn't a drag truck. I'm not building a tube chassis friggin' 1,200 horsepower twin turbo deal. I know people that have those type of trucks, and they're scary. I mean, they're just 150 mile an hour, like friggin' craziness, right? Mid to high 300 crank. My head's kind of suck. Oh, okay. Well, hey, well, if you're making mid to high 300, uh, that's about where I am. I'm about, I figure 350, 60. The truck should, I don't understand why Kick-Ass Mustang's garage is having a problem unless his draggy doesn't work or he's spinning so much. At 20 pounds of boost, his draggy showed that he was running a 1436. That truck should be well in the 12s, even with spinning. Plus the 100 shot I just added. Yeah, so that should bring you down into the 11s, I'd be thinking, with traction. And it's all it's all with traction. That's the whole deal. But I do like the mini trucks just for the simple reason that they're affordable for the average man. The average working guy can go out and find an old S10 or a Ranger. And I'm not necessarily brand specific, but I kind of like Fords. I've had a bunch of nice Fords. I kind of like Fords. You can find a fairly reasonable full frame little mini truck, and you can put a warm small block in it and run pretty quick with it. And there's not a lot of rigs left out there that you can do that to, other than, like, I guess, the Fox Body Mustang, but it's not a full frame car. It's a subframed car. Anything else modern, like the new Camaros, the new Roush Mustangs, you're looking at 50, 60, 70, $80,000. And, I've got $8,000 into this rig, right, so far. So, apples to apples kind of thing. And I don't care if people get the high dollar stuff. If you can afford that stuff, give her. Who's your drag radials? 275, 50, 15. Are yours, are they a true drag radial, or are they like a bias ply? Oh, you're running an automatic. I couldn't run that tire in my rig because it wouldn't be stiff enough of a sidewall. I'd probably have to run a bias ply, stiffer sidewall version of that tire. But my goal is I'd like to get a 275 50/15 in the back. That is my goal, to get that much rubber under there. I think I'm going to need that wide of a footprint. Radials, yeah, okay. What's my friend Admiral Sandwich saying here? Probably half the S10s left in the world do not have the original 4.3 left. Yeah, you go to the junkyard down in the States or wherever, and there's like piles of those 4.3 liter S10 engines laying around. That's hilarious. Yeah, they've all been 350 swapped or small block, or I think I even seen one, boys, with a 318 Mopar or Dodge engine in one. So you can put different engines in them. And to be completely honest, the S10 is a much easier truck to put a small block engine in than the Ranger is. The Ranger's really, I wouldn't call it difficult, but it's definitely harder than an S10 to V8 swap. Radials, yeah. Radial tire, like, you can get away with that on an automatic because unless you're running like a big trans brake and you're dumping at like 6,000 RPM, 5,800, you're not shocking the drivetrain like a guy with a stick is. He's revving it up and then dumping the clutch. And then you just think of the amount of power that's being transferred automatically through that drive shaft into the rear end. Like, it's ridiculous, right? And the more horsepower you have, the more violent that gets. Add a big healthy shot of nitrous on the starting line on top of that, then you can really see why people are running Mosier axles and heavier duty components. Hemi one, but I got go Dakota then. Okay, yeah. Well, Dakotas too. I haven't seen any around here, but maybe where you are, they're super popular to do that too. Around here, the only thing we ever see, well, actually, there's only one mini truck you ever see around here. That's the S10. I have not yet seen another Gen 1 Ranger on the road here in Nova Scotia. Not yet. Not since years and years ago. And, you know, I drive my truck all over the place. It's been to Halifax. It's been to PEI. It's been everywhere. And I have yet to see another one. And you probably won't see another one like mine with that type of motor in it and transmission and stuff like that. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I like it. It's my truck. I mean, some people hate the friggin' side pipes on it. Some love them. I don't care because it's mine. I like it the way it is. I just want to sort of keep it as a sleeper, but at the same time, have some grunt. And because the reason why, I guess, is because I like it when I'm out on the highway and you get some a-hole type person who's like trying to look at your dental work through the back window. Don't want to get that close. All you got to do is just drop a gear and disappear. And you just drive right out of their life and you're gone. I had this guy at an F-250. He was trying to get around me on the left-hand lane and I wouldn't let him. And when I looked down at the speedo, I was at 150 and he just gave up. Either he didn't have the power or he just didn't decide, he decided it wasn't worth it. Let's put that back up. What's Will saying? You'll fit a 275 tire under there. Yeah, I know it'll fit a 275 because Kick-Ass Mustang Garage is running a 295 under his. 295 50 R15 10-inch rim. This is Will saying. All I see in the States is Ford Rangers all the time. Gen 1 Rangers, is that right, Will? Well, are you in a salt belt where you live or no? I don't think you are you? Hard to find a Dakota now. They crushed a lot of them. You know what? I saw a Dakota at the junkyard. I didn't film it, but there was one in there. So next, when I go back to cut that exhaust stuff off, I'll see if I can get some video of it. It is there. Jegs wheels, 8-inch wide, 5-inch offset, 275 fit, no problem. Yeah. So that's great, Art, because Art has a Gen 1 Ranger and he knows what'll fit. So that's going to save me money because I won't have to buy another set of rims, try them, realize they don't fit right, and then send them back. He's going to save me all that time and all that money in shipping. So that's awesome. I'm in Delaware, but I still see a good bit of first gen. So that's cool because there's none on the road up here. They're all a pile of rust up here. My friend died from COVID and his wife crushed the 89 Dakota before I had a chance. Oh, really? That's a bummer. It's not like it's a 69 Roadrunner or anything. I mean, let's be honest. It's a Gen 1 Ranger. But you know what? I got to say, though, if I hang on to this truck, they are becoming more collectible all the time. So think about it. 84, 94, 2004, 2014, 2024, it'll be 40 years old, right? So every year that goes by, there's less and less and less and less of them on the road, right? Gen 1 Rangers, what's he, Dr. Art saying? All over down here for $500. Is that Texas? Is that where you're at? Because if it is, I'm moving there. $500. I paid considerably more than that for my truck. I got it. What did I pay for that thing? $3,000 Canadian, I believe it was. I'll have to check, but in any case, yeah. So there's not a lot of them around. They're Nashville, Tennessee, right? There's not a lot of them around. They're pretty rough. Any of the ones you see up here, I've seen some in the fields, and I know where there's a few sitting for parts. Oh, one other thing. I got a buddy who's a Ford hoarder who just lives like 5 miles from my house. I emailed him this afternoon, and he got back to me and said he might have an 8.8 traction lock carrier with the clutch pack and everything in his other shed. He's going to check for me. If he did, I'd get that one, blow it apart, and just order the clutch rebuild kit on Amazon, throw new clutches in it and stuff, and you know, put it together and send it. Yeah, but not a Roadrunner, but a sweet 360 Dakota it would have made. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't put a small block V8 option in those trucks to begin with. I mean, any full frame truck ought to be able to handle the power of a factory at least without modification 8-cylinder. I mean, the engine I did have in this truck before this motor was 153 horse 302 factory out of an 81 LTD, just a stock, C5 or C6 heads in it, or like just E5 or E6 heads in it, just garbage essentially. Bring a trailer down in the spring. I'd love to do that, man. You have no idea. And I got friends, the Skull Garage boys. They live in Asheville, North Carolina. I'd love to go visit them too. I'm friends with Dale and Justin and all those fellas from Skull Garage, and I'd like to visit those fellas too. But I'd like to visit all you guys if I could, But there's this thing called work and life and stuff that gets in the way, right? I'd like to go visit Nick's garage too in Laval, Quebec. And he's about 8 hours from me, but there's travel restrictions in Quebec and stuff now. Still can't make the trip, right? Asheville is about 4 hours away. Well, man, you should go hook up with them. I'll give you Justin's phone number. You give them a call, and they're friggin' great guys, man. Go watch their channel. It's called Skull Garage. Dale has a 57 Chevrolet, and Justin has a 74 Innova with a 388 small block Chevy that's twin turbo. And his brother has an S10 that's got a dart block 1200 horsepower at 4-something stroker, and it's making like enormous power. He's been in the I think he's been in the low sixes, high fives in the 8th mile with it, but he still hasn't got it figured out completely yet. I know my buddy has a few 8.8 at his house, limited slips, but we're in New Jersey. Yeah, that's New York's not that far from me. New York is about 9.5, 10 hours from where I live. But like I said, it's crossing the border. That's the problem right now. They're not letting anybody do anything, sadly. Anyway. Yeah, I got the dog sleeping behind me here, and we got ice built up on the roof, and every time the friggin' ice comes sliding off the roof because it's starting to warm up outside, he almost has a heart attack. He jumps, right? Yeah, I don't trust the 7.5 open diff any further. I dare not. It's beyond the limits of what it was designed to do. I mean, that was the stock rear end that was in the truck when it had the 2.3 liter Lima engine in there. I got a message from Hoppy's Junkyard with his Lima. He had videos up all week showing his trip out to get his parts, and he was in Arizona, and he was all over the place. Really cool stuff. It was cool to watch. I think he's on his way home, or he is home, and he'll have some cool videos of putting that other head on there and getting that turbocharged 2.3 liter fired up. I'm anxious to see what that thing will do. Yeah, I came across, like, if you look at my junkyard video, there was an 8.8 sitting there, and it was a 31 spline, but again, it was an open differential, a one-wheel peel, but it had 373 gears in it. I checked that axle code afterwards. It was a 94. That's a 373. It's a 3200, which means 31 spline with 373 gears. So I could probably rob some parts out of that if I had to, but I'd rather just see, there's two ways to do it. You can get a U center section and then just throw it in there and hope that the clutches are good, or you can just rebuild them, or you can just do the Amazon route. Like, let me share this for you boys that didn't see it. I found a couple of options for those center sections that I can afford. This was the first option, was on Fleabay. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let me just see. Yeah. That's the flea bay one. That's what it looks like with the spring clip in there. Get the clutches. This one here, I can get it for $337 plus $200 shipping. It's right to my door, and it's for a 8.8 31 spline 07 to 14 Mustang, but it doesn't matter the year. It'll fit in anything. Or this one. Let's find it again here. I'm getting better at this. It's taken a while. This one was on Amazon. It didn't look too bad. It's probably a pretty good deal too. See, there's your clips are inside the housing under the gears there. Get this one for $435 and 2 new C clips for $444. So that is not such a bad deal either. So that might be another option. We could probably do that. Yeah, I get that rear end does have a 355 gear in it, so I'll likely just keep that ringing. The crown gear and the pinion gear look fine, so probably just put them on this new center section. Turbos will boost the time and load. Yeah, what's the ratio in the donor? 355. So that'll work. I don't really want to go less than that. I'm not planning on gobs of boost, so I'm still going to need some sort of a mechanical advantage. But as you guys seen, I did get the wastegate sorted out. It's opening right now at around 5, just cracking at 5, and it's fully open by 8 pounds. So we'll start there and we'll work it from there. 355 will work better than 373 or 410. Like, I would put a 410 in it if I was going to stay NA, because I mean, that little, even a light truck like that, the mechanical advantage it's awesome. They used to have a saying back in the 80s and 90s, gear it until you fear it, and that's where they got that from. But anyway, you're right about that. Yeah, you want to have more highway friendly style gears with the turbocharger. But anyway, anxious to see how that all comes together. But the main thing is I got to get a better rear end in it first and some suspension upgrades, because there's no point putting tons of power through this ratty old suspension if it's not going to do what I want it to do. So I'll upgrade the rear end. In the process of doing that, I'll get a better brake, because I'll go from a 9-inch to a 10-inch rear drum, which is, you'd be surprised how much extra braking that'll give you. And then I'm going to upgrade to slotted rotors on the front, the Viking shocks, some drop springs, and a drop shackle at the back for a 2-inch drop. I'm going to go 2.2. It's not going any lower than that, because if you knew the roads in Nova Scotia, you would know why I'm saying that. They're so bloody atrocious, the roads here. If it was any lower than that, I'd be banging the oil pan off or the cross member off the road all the time. Just beat it to pieces. But anyway, I think it'll look cool. It'll be awesome, is what I'm thinking. I don't know if I should keep the barn mirrors on it. It's got the old Ford barn style mirrors on it, whether I should take them off in lieu of the smaller mirror, because there is a smaller mirror, or just keep the barn mirrors on it and to help with the sleeper image. Oh yeah, there's tons of salt and little gravel pebbles all over the road still, like little tiny gravel pieces from the winter. When they plow the road, they end up pushing a lot of dirt shit onto the road. So when the salt and ice and everything melts, you're left with all that loose gravel. And it usually takes a bunch of rainstorms or a bunch of rain in order to wash all that crap off of there. Dr. Art says they are not barn mirrors, they're speed brakes. Deploy the speed brakes, throw the mirrors out, right? I like that idea. That's awesome. Yeah. But anyway, it does help with the sleeper image because it's the factory style mirror. See, from the back, my truck looks totally stock. So that's probably why that guy in the F-250 was trying to see if I had fillings or not, and then get pulled out in the left lane to go around me. And then I dropped a gear and I hit her, and he wasn't getting around me. He was trying. He was probably quite mad when I looked down and I was doing 150 plus. That's kilometers an hour, but that's 90 miles an hour for mph. But he probably wasn't too excited about that. He was probably shocked. But anyway, it's a fun truck to play around with. I can break the tires loose anytime I want. If I'm in third gear, I can just shift into second and hammer it, and she's just smoking. That's the fun part about these things. You can drive them any way you like, pretty much. And I like going around corners and stuff and being stupid and, pretending I'm a teenager again, right? But anyway, that's the whole reason to do this stuff. I mean, why else would we do it otherwise if you can't have a little bit of fun? And, like Dr. Art, when you back that Falcon out, or Comet out on the road there and you're out of your driveway and just do a little chooch, right? And get the tire spinning, and that's fun, right? If you annoy the neighbors, so much the better. That's the mission accomplished, right? But anyway, that's the way it is. So what else is going on in your guys' world? Thanks for coming on tonight. There's a friggin' pretty good turnout here tonight, boys. I'm glad to see that. You're making me want to buy one. Well, I mean, hell, like I said, it's a poor man's hot rod. I mean, that's what it is. They're light. They got a full frame, and if you do stiffen them up a bit, they'll take some power. Neighbors are scared of me anyway. Yeah, well, it doesn't take much to scare your neighbors nowadays. If they hear a car backfire, they're in the house dialing 911 with all 7 phones. So it's, maybe I shouldn't say too much about that, but in any case, it's true. I was watching a video this week, and it was from down in California. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's Van Nuys or Van Nuys Boulevard, and it was summer 1972. And they were there's a montage of photographs of the cruising that went on there in the late evening. Man, I was just almost sick to see it, but at the same time, it was like, wow. I was born in the wrong era. I wish it was still like that today. I mean, the girls were beautiful back then, just naturally. And yet it had just a block of nothing but boogie vans and hot rods and cruising up and down the roads and stuff. And everybody was like, they seemed happier. Not a cell phone to be seen anywhere. Smiles on their faces. I mean, I grew up in the late 70s, 80s. I knew there was problems and stuff back then too. Like I didn't think it was like a dream utopia, but it was different then. I mean, you guys know, some of you guys are old enough to remember that or to know. It was different. The whole vibe, the feel was different back then, right? Dad was telling me about the drive or the A&W they had in Charlottetown when I was growing up. I remember going in there and the girls coming out with the roller skates and putting the tray of the root beer and burgers and fries up on the window, and I remember I was old enough then to remember that. And seeing the road runner and the guy with the Chevelle light the light racing up University Avenue, I remember all that, right? And it really did happen. It's not just an imagination or a movie. It's true. It happened. Yeah, my last neighbor was a pastor, so not good. We should have got him to come over and bless your car. Well, that would have been pretty decent to do. Dr. Art, I would be happy to do it, Hemi. Yeah. As long as you don't put a Chevy in a Ford. Well, you know what? Dr. Art says it came that way, and I believe him. and I still like the truck, irregardless of the fact it's got a Chevy motor in it. It's still cool. But I am of that school and of that mindset too. I like Fords and Ford Chevys and Chevys, Mopars and Mopars. At the end of the day, it's your car, it's your street rod. You love it. You do your thing, man. You be you, right? Heck no. I was born in the Bronx, so I remember a lot of stuff in street. Yeah, New York has a famous friggin' street racing genre. I seen videos and stuff back in the old days in the '80s in New York. Guys were street racing and stuff, and didn't they used to go outside of New York? Like where was it they went? Uncle Tony will tell you. Uncle Tony's garage. He used to race with that bunch. Like, was it Staten Island or where did they go? The Bronx. But yeah, we were talking about that tonight. And, when I was a kid, okay, here's a typical night, let's say 1975. Summer night, my dad would get off work about 5. He'd shower, he'd eat. About 7 o'clock, 6:30, we'd jump in the big boat that he had at the time. Like usually it was like a Plymouth Belvedere or Newport that was about 35 feet long, 4-door, great big V8, big block car. We drive to the drive-in movies. Remember those? It was a double feature on Friday nights, and it was dirt cheap. And we go in there, and they'd hang the speaker on the window, and we watched drive-in movies. And then us kids, I had 2 sisters, only one in the 70s, but 2 in the 80s. We go to sleep usually after the first movie, and then my mom and dad would watch the second one on their own because we were asleep in the back seat. And then the next thing we would hear would be the engine starting up and the interior light coming on when the movie was over and everybody was leaving. And that we used to do that all the time, right? We go camping and fishing, and families didn't spend time away from each other then, like they do now. It wasn't like all you talking on your cell phone. It was just a totally different deal, right? I agree. Chevy and a Ford is blasphemy. Hemi and a Chevy is good angel. Yeah, each to their own. That's what makes us all different. But at the same time, there's one common denominator that goes through all our veins, no matter what you like, is that we're all gearheads, man. At the end of the day, right? That's what makes it cool. The only Ford you can put a Chevy in is a Fox body because that's a lost cause. Oh dear. Yeah, well, that seems to be the trend, isn't it, Will? They get a LS something or other in a Fox body Mustang, usually twin turbo variety, right? And they're fast. You can't deny that. They're fast. I don't agree with it, but they're fast. I see the street racing channel, if any of you guys follow Billy and Bob, Bill Hoskins there. Molly from Molly Motorsports, his girlfriend, she's got a new 410 cubic inch Windsor motor Ford that she's putting in her Fox body, and the thing made like 600 and something horsepower on the dyno last week. And check it out, it's pretty cool. And she's a girl, so they painted the block purple, and they got like purple wires and stuff on it. But I'll bet you that thing's gonna haul the mail. Very much the trend, yeah. No, that seems to be like I follow 660 street racing down the states and stuff, and pretty well every car on there is LSX, LS, twin turbo. Mustangs doesn't matter. Roadkill's blasphemy is sweet. Yeah, 55 Chevrolet. I have to say, even though I'm a Ford guy, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over 55 Chevy. That's just, if I had a chance to get a car, an old 50s car, that would be what I would want. Would be a 2-door 55 Chevrolet. Build a gasser out of it, or like a 2-lane blacktop style car. Also, there's another channel I watch routinely. It's called Penny's Hot Rods. They're out in Manitoba, and they got a lot of cool stuff on their channel. Check that out. He took his 55 Pontiac out today, and it looks like the 2-lane blacktop car. It's a 2-door car, 327 Chevy with a 4-speed. There's a video of him going through the gears, and that just the straight 60s, man, is what that is. It's cool as hell. Kind of the trend for any car. They want to go nines in a turbo LS. Yeah, if that's your deal, that's your deal. I'm cool with it. Nines is pretty fast. But I mean, they call them street race cars, but they're not street cars. Just because they have these no trailer events where you have to drive 30 miles, still doesn't make it a street car, dude. To me, a street car is something that can idle in traffic, okay, for half an hour, 45 minutes, and not overheat. That to me is a street car. 55 Chevy with a camera forward Hemi sweet. Oh man, that would be some rig, wouldn't it? That would be, you've just described basically my ultimate car right there. You know, another thing I would also like, and if any of you guys want to ever get rich and buy it for me, I would be much in your gratitude, is a 63 Ford Thunderbird. I'm sure you Ford guys know what that is. It's a Ford factory super light race car. And they were so fast that when someone would show up with a Thunderbird at the drag strip back in the 60s, a lot of guys would just go home because they're not beating this thing. It's basically a Falcon Futuro or a Comet, very lightweight, aluminum body panels, 427 camera in them, like a 4-speed super stock transmission, and fast, like really fast, super light, almost equivalent to like what was that Dart they had? It was a 69 or 70 Dart that had the 426 Hemi, and it was a factory race car. You had to have like a special license in order to buy the thing. It was not street legal. Something along that kind of lines. Yeah, a street car is something you can drive across country. Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. So that's when I'm making modifications to my Ranger, I've always got that in my mind. Is that I don't want to go so crazy that it's not streetable. It's not, you can't take it for trips and stuff. I drive mine everywhere. I don't care. Hot, cold, rain, sun, shine, whatever. Thunderbolt, my buddy down here has two. Oh, that's cool. If you get a chance, take a video camera down there, man, and get some video footage of that. I'd love to see that thing. I love those cars. Boss 429, I have to admit, that is the shit. I love that engine. I love that, like the 69 Mach 1 Mustang with the Boss 429 in it is that gets high points on my anything I would go for. My cousin had a 73 Mach 1, had a 351 Cleveland with a C6 in it. It was a pretty good car. It was pretty potent. It would get up and get out of its own way, I can tell you that. That's basically the same car on that movie, Gone with 60 Seconds. The original, not the Nicolas Cage one, but the original movie. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've seen that, I'm sure you have. I got pics on my phone. Yeah, I'd love to see that thing. That's a pretty rare beast nowadays, but they're a cool car. Like, they just are. I know where there's a 63 Comet that's in pretty good shape. It's a 2-door post car. I might be able to get my hands on that. I don't know. I got to finish one candy bar before I eat another one. Honestly, if I could just get that body of Mustang and not lose my limbs or heart. Yeah, I hear you, man. Yeah, it's a hard car. You know what? Back in the 80s, way back when there was dinosaurs on the earth, you could pick up like a 68, 69 Charger for $500 or $1,000. Nobody wanted them because of the gas crunch and all that other shit. And now look at the price of them, right? My buddy growing up had a 79 Camaro, and it slid like a mother with slicks in the back. I guess it would. Slicks are not generally accepted rain tires in most circles. Like the ultimate combination for poop your pants creativity is a nice drag slick with a welded rear end. That's like double thumbs up for war amps right there. Yeah, it had a reverse teardrop hood on that car. Ford teardrop hood. Yeah, definitely, man. Thunderbolt. Sorry, Thunderbolt. Friggin' hard to beat. light and fast, right? And that 427 camera, that's no joke. That engine, you spin that up to 7,500 RPM and listen to that solid valve train. Yeah, chargers are ridiculous these days, even for the ones that are pretty much junk that need every panel. Have you ever watched Junker Up's channel with Chris? He gets some of the most ridiculously beat up Challengers and Chargers, and he puts and brings them back to life, a lot of them, or he hoards them out for other parts that he needs. But yeah, the Dukes of Hazzard's TV show was responsible for a lot of the Chargers. You know, thumbs up, kind of, I love them. But also that movie Bullet. If you guys ever get a chance, go watch that Steve McQueen movie called Bullet. It's got a 68 Charger, a black RT 68 Charger in it. It's like that green Mustang that was in that movie too. That's a good show, by the way. I know he pays a good penny, I bet. But again, like none of us, well, I shouldn't say none of us, but I can't afford $70,000 cars that are rust buckets and then spend another $170,000 to make them turn into daily drivers. It just doesn't fit in my life. I could build 1,000 cooler, done yourself kind of rigs for that kind of deal. You know what I mean? I'm not like doing it for a collectible hobby. If I had the money, maybe I'd get some rare, like early Cobras or something like that and put them away, but I'm not into cars for collecting. I'm into them to scare myself and have some fun, right? Mopar guys are cousins with Ford because of Horace and John making engines for Henry's, so related. Yeah, well, there you go. If you go back far enough, yeah. Yeah, I'm not generally I like all brands. I've had Chevys. Like I told you guys, I had a 71 Chevelle Malibu 2-door. It was one of my first cars. I've had some different cars. Having a payment on a car doesn't fit in my life. Well, there you go. I'm in the same boat. I don't owe money on anything, and I want to keep it that way, right? And I'm certainly not going to go into debt for toys. I wouldn't do that. It just doesn't make sense. I'd rather just horse trade, which is what I do, is just trade parts for parts mostly. And as little cash that changes hands as possible. Or occasionally, if I need something and I need to have it, like this center section for this rear end, I'll just go buy it, and have it. But that's the best way to do it. I think it's more rewarding that way anyway, because then anything cool you make, it's something you created. You didn't buy it, you made it, right? Yeah, and the 427 FE with the Hemi heads is even cooler. Yeah, definitely. But so rare that it's like a unicorn, dude. That is a unicorn in my world. Does it exist? I don't know, maybe. A horse with a big horn growing out of its forehead. Does that really exist? I might have a sip left in this. Cheers. Hey, I'll work in anything. Ford, Chevy, Mazda, Toyota, whatever. I'm the same way with motorcycles, dude. I'll work on Japanese. I'll work on American. I'll work on anything, provided it's a job that I want to take and tackle, and it's a job I think I might be able to make some money on. If it's not a job that I want to tackle and I don't think there's any room for me to make money, I don't take the job. I've hurt a lot of people's feelings doing that, unfortunately, but that is mechanics. I'm sure you know. Built, not bought. Friggin' rights, buddy. That's the way to do it. I think that's the cool factor in modern hot rodding, like hot rodding today. And back then, that's always been the foundation, like from the 50s right on up to now. What did they do in the 50s to build cool hot rods? They got cars from the 30s, the 20s, the 40s that people didn't want, that were uncool. And then they stripped them down and they made them cool. But that's the essence, man. Like that Dodge Dakota truck with 360 in it. That's a cool little hot rod, right? Doesn't have to be a truck, it can be a car, it can be anything, right? If you built it, I'm on board. Definitely, right? Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of jobs, people think that you're obligated to work for them or to take their job because it needs doing. That's open for debate. And I tell everybody that wants me to do something for them, this is how it really is. And if you can live up to those terms and accept that, then we're okay. And if you can't, then you have a nice day and I'll see you on the next one. And that's always how I've been. I'm never in a hurry, and I'm never, my dad said something to me a long time ago before I joined the Army back when I was 17. And I always remembered it, and I'll remember it till the day I die. It's better to be an idle fool than it is a busy one. Right? Some things you can win on, some you can't. It's just the way it goes with mechanics. But anyway, I try not to be rude about it, and I try not to hurt anyone's feelings about it, but that's just the reality of life. Some folks are, for whatever reason, they're caught up in this matrix, and they still think it's 1975 and that you're going to rebuild the top end of their engine for $500 in a case of beer. And that's just not going to happen. Them days is over, man. Just like the Van Nuys Boulevard, 1972 cruising. Those days are over. Right? That feeling, that vibe is not going to come back. My first truck, Dodge Ram, was easy to work on, so I'll give that to Chrysler. Right on. Yeah, I mean, they did have some good ideas on certain models, and then they came out with some other models, and they were like, oh, you're like scratching your head wondering, like, who was the engineer behind this train wreck? How big is the case of beer? Yeah. Well, that's how a lot of you younger guys operate. I know. That's cool. I mean, but when you get old and you get cranky and cantankerous and gray hair in your head, sometimes it changes your mindset a little bit, as you'll find out. I reserve the right to refuse work for anyone, period. Yeah, man. I mean, that's the way it is. That's the real reality of mechanics. It's sometimes you just got to say no. And as a matter of fact, I'll show you guys this summer. I got a T-shirt that's all it says on it is no in big letters. And it's a word that some folks have never heard and don't hear, but they need to hear, right? Especially when they're trying to get you to do something that is going to be a train wreck, and you're going to lose your shirt off of. And there's just better ways to spend your time. If you're going to scrape your knuckles and bleed fixing somebody's rig, make sure you're getting paid well to do it. A workman is worthy of his labor, worthy of his reward, right? Fiat, that's when Fiat took over. You know what Fiat stands for, Will? Fix it again, Tony. I used to know some of those air-cooled Fiats that they had laying around in Canada here back in the 80s and 90s, and there. Whew. Man, you want to have a parts house with you, buddy. Maybe they're better now. I don't know. They're probably worse. But they're with Chrysler now, so it's probably 100 times worse. I started having business cards made up so people would know the work is not free just because you're a good guy. Exactly. Right. Well, it even got to the point one time when some guy I forget what it was about, but it was about me working for him. And I said to him, where do you work? And he told me. And I said, okay. I said, I'll see you there tomorrow at noon. I'm going to come in and start asking you if you'll do something for me for free on your lunch break. And that was the end of the conversation right there. That's all I had to say. And I didn't say it in a nasty way, just the way I'm saying it right now. No way are they better like paper mache. Yeah. Yeah, fix it again, Tony. That's what Fiat stands for. Some cars are better than others, and some people are better than others. I didn't make up the rules, man. That's just the world we all live in. Anyway, well, boys, I'm going to wrap her up for the night. Really cool having you folks on here tonight. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it very much. I always enjoy talking to you guys. Always. I look forward to Sunday nights. We can have a little spit session and talk about some stuff, and it's cool, right? And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday, finding out what happened during your week and what kind of stuff you're up to now. But anyway, thanks for coming. Thumbs up for War Amps, of course. Stay classy, as always. I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.